Hello, it's Mark here from Songs of Praise, doing an interview for Cave Dweller magazine with Ratty from formerly of Alien Sex Fiend, now Alien Ex Fiend.
Indeed.
So, tell us how you first got involved with Sex Fiend originally.
I think it started initially with me was, I was in the fan club. I think that's how it started. I first got introduced to the Sex Fiends in a pub called the Queen's in Lytham, where I'm from originally. It was my mate Tim that gave me the cassette, the Lewd, the Matthew, and the old Nick. It was just their first demos, really, and it was. I was just fascinated by the whole sort of stature and placement of Alien Sex Fiend. Everything about it was what I was into at the time. I was into Hammer horror films, and Christopher Lee was my big hero, and of course Alice Cooper and punk rock music and just everything at that age. I was probably about 14, 15. So when you hear a sound like that and a band like that and the way they looked, it was like, this is just perfect for me. So anyway, I got all the albums and I was in the fan club, and things started developing for me because I started playing in a band and started actually playing the drums and being a musician because of my brothers. You know, they were in bands and stuff and doing different things. So it's quite a long-winded story, really, but I actually met Nick at Preston Clouds when they did the Maximum Security tour. I was in sixth form college and I made this clay head called Squirm, and because I was quite close to all the sort of management people, they said, yeah, we'll get you backstage. And Susie, she was called, she goes, yeah, you can come and meet Nick. And I said, well, I've got a gift for him. And we kind of hit it off. It was great. When I first met him, really. There was like a connection there straight away because I was quite young. I was sort of like a bit wild, a bit eccentric, and fucking loving Alien Sex Fiend. You know, it was like them and the Cramps were the two main elements of everything for me growing up, really, as a kid. And then I saw the Fiends. They play. I'd seen them a few times, the Sex Fiends. Anyway, they did play Blackpool, the beer keller, originally when Johnny was with them. But at that time, I was with a band called the Turnpike Cruisers, and we'd done quite a few shows around the UK. We went to Holland, did a weird fucking trip in Holland. It was like we were like a residency, staying in this like squat place. It was like a bar, but we were doing like shows there. It was weird. It was so weird. So it was pretty good fun with the Turnpike Cruisers, and they were quite established on the sort of rockabilly, psychobilly scene through Jetty Sounds Records, and John Bentham. He did all the early videos for all the bands like GBH, Exploited, Meters, all them early bands. John Bentham, his video company was like the number one independent video company. They were really popular. And John, one night, we'd been rehearsing, and he came down to the rehearsal room. He said, Ratty, he said, I've got some really cool news for you. He said, but I've managed to get a couple of shows with the Turnpike supporting Alien Sex Fiend. And I was like, fucking what? You must be... What? He said, yeah. He said, I've sorted it. It's the first one's at Strathclyde University, and then we're doing the Clubfoot, which is a legendary venue in Hammersmith in London back then. Oh, all the psychobilly bands played there.
Jonathan Trevisick does the DJing and used to book stuff for Clubfoot.
He did, yeah. So what happened, really, getting back to the initial how it all began, is that I was sound checking in Strathclyde and my kit sounded brilliant. It's like it was a proper rig. PA was amazing. And for some weird reason, I decided to do some Sex Fiend beats because it just felt, and all the webbing was up on the stage and the mannequins and they'd sound checked and all that lot. And I just thought, fuck it. And I just started going into New Christian Music, R.I.P., just the stuff that I knew, the Sex Fiend stuff that I knew. But unbeknown to me, this is the really, really crazy bit, is that Nick and Chris were at the back of the hall listening to me. And it was like a live audition, but with me being completely unaware that they were listening. And at that time, they'd just supported Alice Cooper, and I think Nick had the urge of wanting live drums back in the band, because Johnny had left a year or so prior, and they did Maximum Security with just a drum machine, Yaxin and Nick and Mrs. Fiend. So it was like one of those synchronicity moments, you know, like sliding door moments in life where things were supposed to be. So anyway, I was completely unaware of this. Did the show backstage afterwards, right, see you later, and all that lot. And then a couple of months later, running up to sort of the back end of 86, early 87, I was in London with a friend of mine. I'm telling you, this is a long-winded story, but
Oh, no, it's fine.
It's how you wanted it. So, and anyway, I'm in London visiting a friend of mine called Cherry, and the train was delayed to go back home. So I rang my mum, and she goes, "Well, you better come home soon anyway." I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Nick Fiend's been ringing you." And I was like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, Nick's been trying to ring you. He's been trying to get hold of you for something." I was like, "What did he?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "But he's going to call you back tomorrow at 6:00. So of course my fucking arse is gone. I'm like, what? I didn't even know how he got my number or anything. It was bizarre. But anyway, it all came to fruition that John Bentham had pretty much done all this for me, really.
Right.
So I owe John pretty much everything on that Sex Fiend side of it all. John and Nick did ring me, and we were having this the conversation. You know, how you doing? And the first question they said is, "What are you doing in the new year?" 87 with the Turnpike Cruisers. And I said, "Well, I've got probably some recordings and some gigs and whatever." You know, he said, "Well, how do you fancy coming down to Brixton and having a jam with us?" I was like, "You fucking what?" Hey? He said, "No, seriously." He said, "We heard you play and we've met before, and we would really like you to get involved in what we're doing and just come and have a jam with us." So, unbeknown to me, all this was pre-planned. John Bentham had already pre-planned all this behind my back, really, which is incredible. Sort of sounded out the Fiends and said, you know, he's the perfect guy. He's young, he's enthusiastic, he knows your stuff, and that's how it all developed, really. So a couple of weeks went by, and Ross Bowman, who was one of their drivers, Nick said, "Don't worry about anything. We'll come and pick you up. We'll get your kit. You can come and stay with us a few days in Brixton and stuff." And to cut that story pretty short, is that I was in Brixton for about a week or so. We went into John Henry's rehearsal studios, rehearsed a lot of Sex Fiend stuff up, but they were writing some new stuff. And at the time, Nick and Chris's flat in Brixton kept getting broken into. So Nick used to go to sleep with his fucking Doc Martens on, with his boots on. So we were at a track called Boots On, trying to catch the robbers that were coming in and nicking stuff. And I was on the couch. It was weird. It was super fucking weird. So after that, came back home. And then, again, I got another phone call because there was no internet and social media back then. It was just a phone call saying, "We're due to do a UK tour. We really like what's happened and how everything's worked out with all of us. And do you want to come on tour with us?" So I went, "Yeah, I do want to come on tour with you." And then that's how it kind of happened. And that was like sort of February, March 87. Did a big UK tour, went up to Scotland, and then we went into Europe. And did a big. So I was in Europe for about a month.
Oh wow! You have a story that's very comparable to Henry Rollins.
Really,
the fact that when he got up, when he went to a Black Flag gig, and the singer wasn't feeling too cracking.
Yeah.
And they were jokingly saying someone out of the audience to come up, and Rollins got up and sang a couple of songs.
I've heard that story.
Then a few weeks later, he's saying he thought it was a wind up when he gets a phone call saying, We're going to send a cab. We've got a gig in New York. You're singing." And he's like, "You're fucking joking."
Yeah.
But
it's a similar thing.
Yeah.
You know what? And I've met Kid Congo a couple of times now from the Cramps, and his story is quite similar as well. He again, Kid Congo was a fan of the Cramps, and that's how things developed with him. And every time we see each other, we always have that kind of funny little connection because he's written a book about his life with the Cramps.
I've got
as well.
I've got Kid Congo's
New
book.
Kind of Kick or whatever it is, which is great. So it does happen. Dreams do come true, and things do happen in life.
I remember talking to Martin McCarrick years ago that ended up being keyboard player for Mark and the Members.
Yeah.
But he also played keyboard when the Banshees became a 5-piece.
Oh, okay.
So songs like Peekaboo, it's Martin McCarrick, and he was a proper fan of Soft Cell. And Mark loved his work but didn't know what to do with him because he already had Dave Ball as a keyboard player. But when it became Mark and the Members, he said, "Oh, I can use you."
Yeah.
And he thought, when Mark asked him, he thought it was a wind-up because he was just a fan that went everywhere following Soft Cell and then Mark. And so I
think it must happen quite a few times.
Oh, definitely.
It must do. You know, you get a fan or you get a road crew guy or whatever it may be. And I think, you know, with what happened to me, Lytham at the time was just I'm just from a small little village, really. Lytham was just a small little town. Very close to Blackpool, of course. Nothing much going on. You had the Queens, which was like the rock and roll hub where all the sort of punks, goths and rockabillys used to hang out and everything, which was great. And if you wanted proper gigs, you'd have to go to Blackpool or Preston or Lancaster, Lancaster Uni or whatever. So back then, it was thriving. It was an exciting place. But for me to be actually get elevated and create that myself, yeah, John did help, but it was me driving it and making that decision that this is what I want to do. And being 18, 19, with no prospects of getting a proper job or thinking of whatever I was going to do, it sort of landed on my lap. And I was with Alien Sex Fiend for about 6 years. I'd done about 60 shows with them across that period. I'd done about 4 albums with them and just went all over the world pretty much, from like Nottingham to Japan, really.
Oh, wow.
Which was incredible. Been all over Germany and Spain and all these wonderful places. But, things have got to come to an end, which they did, so that's,
So
that's what's happening
after doing Vince Ripper and the Rodent Show and then doing it kind of again with Dr. Diablo,
yeah.
How do you feel now with the new concept of Alien Ex Fiend?
Well, it's something that's been on my mind for ages, to be honest with you. I've always wanted to sort of do something a little bit different and try doing my show, but with a band. And I've never thought I'd ever get the opportunity of doing it. I thought, well, the best way of doing it properly that would make it work is by delving into that actual frame of being sort of more Sex Fiend related.
Yeah.
I think the sort of Alien Ex Fiend thing works quite well because of what it is. I was in Alien Sex Fiend. I know I am an Ex Fiend.
Yes.
I've always been a fiend. I was a fiend way before Alien Sex Fiend. Since I was a little boy, I've always been into that world, So I just think it's going to take on new dynamics for me because I've never fronted a band, and it is going to be more so of a band.
Yeah.
Because when I was doing the shows, it was always on pre-recorded backing tracks that it was quite easy to contain.
Yeah.
But with this now, I've got to deal with a live drummer. I've got to deal with live guitars, big heavy pulses, and everything else, feedback.
Yep.
And make it as Sex Fiendy as it was. So really, I'm going to embrace it. And the most important thing about me doing it is it's a homage to my life with Alien Sex Fiend. And if I can make it feel like it is Alien Sex Fiend in the best possible way, not so much mimicking it, because I like to add different characters to when I'm singing and stuff and that. Because I'm still going to be doing show stuff, going to be still firing in some Cramp stuff in there. There might be some other little hidden gems in there. So yeah, it's quite exciting really. When it all comes together, it's going to be quite epic really.
And we've obviously got the massive show at Boneyard Festival in Blackpool.
Yeah.
And then again, back in Blackpool, the week of Rebellion.
That's going to be exciting.
That you're going to be playing, so your headline show.
Yeah,
and
that's going to be great.
There's offers coming from, it sounds like a cliche, but it is true. There's offers coming from all over the world for Alien Ex Fiend to play.
Yeah. It's super exciting,
yeah,
isn't it,
so
really?
it's,
I mean, I've got to contain it because it's got to be whatever situation I get myself involved with. I've got to be really, really careful and just guide it correctly and not overdo it because I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's probably going to be more of a festival vibe thing instead of it going on like a big tour.
Yeah. So I'm going to say before we go, I was going to ask, do you think there's a likelihood of you just continuing it as a homage or actually recording some new songs as Alien Ex Fiend?
Possibly. I've thought about it. I've thought about it already, yeah.
Or doing some of like the Diablo and Vince Ripper songs that were your own, doing them as Ex Fiend songs.
But yeah, I think that's probably
like Ghost Train Man and things like
what
that.
we're doing, Ghost Train Man.
Right.
Spider Baby.
Yeah. Spider Baby's a great one.
Yeah, we're going to still be doing that because we've been looking at doing that anyway because it's part of the show. I can't not do them songs because people know us as that. But to do it with a live band is going to be quite special because it's going to be really heavy and there's going to be completely different dynamics because I'm dealing with the drummer.
Yep.
So there's going to be cues, snare rolls, fills, pull-outs, all that kind of stuff and actually doing the songs but with a live band. But what I want to try and do is do Sex Fiend stuff that the Fiends never played live.
Yeah, you've said that.
That's one of the things I want to try and do. And I often said that to Nick, we can do this, we can do that. And Nick was always kind of wanting to just stick with either the new stuff that we've done or or it was just circumstance. There was certain stuff about doing certain songs.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do like Hee Haw, which we managed to do Hee Haw live. I'm a Product. We got around to doing that, which was brilliant. So yeah, I think it's open. Once they get the band up to speed and they know what it's about and the vibe of being a Sex Fiend kind of thing, it's going to just develop. But yeah, probably, who knows? Probably I like writing songs, and it'll be a completely new dynamic for me to do that. So yeah, possibly.
So cool. So everybody out there, get ready for Alien Ex Fiend and watch this space.
Absolutely.
Cheerio.